channel. If you are new here, my name is Vicky and this is a little bit of a different video to what I normally do. Usually my content is very food based. I do cook with me's recipes, shopping hauls, all that kind of thing. But today I've decided to do a reading wrap up. I've been saying I'm going to do some like bookish content for a really long time and I've just had loads going on and haven't got round to it. But I've thought that now is the perfect time to start because I have been reading a lot lately. So what we're going to do is have a little catch up first. So I'm in my new little cosy filming corner. I've got a new chair, I don't know if you can see it there. I've made myself a coconut latte. And this mug was very kindly bought by my mum. I absolutely love it, it's so cute. So what we're going to do is pause the video, go make yourself a hot drink. So if you're not interested in a catch up and you're just here for the books, that's completely fine, I totally understand that. I will leave a timestamp in now so you can skip straight to the book content. But if you're someone who watches often and you just want to have a little chat first, then get comfy, get yourself a drink and enjoy the video. So to start with, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. That is good coffee. So I wanted to start this video by explaining a little bit about why I've decided to start putting some book content on my channel. I've always been an avid reader and loved reading, but over the last, well, I'd say 2 to 3 years since I started my channel, as it grew and got busier and busier and my social media expanded, I just have focused on that and basically put way too much time into that side of things and not enough time into doing things that I enjoy other than social media. So back in February, a lot of you will know that my dad sadly passed away, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my life, and I was very, very close to my dad, and it's still so hard. I really am going to try not to get emotional, but it's still very, very raw. So when he passed away, I threw myself into reading because I wanted to escape, like to find a different outlet, something to occupy my brain. I couldn't listen to any music. I'm sure a lot of you can understand what I mean. Every song would set me off crying. I couldn't watch any films because nothing held my attention. I just found myself staring at the screen and not really paying much attention to the plot. So I decided to start reading, and I just threw myself into some books that I wouldn't normally pick up, to be honest, and it really has helped wonders. It's not like things are magically okay again, but for those few hours when you're like inside a book, you can just completely switch your mind off, although I have picked some real good ones for that. One of the books in particular basically detailed everything I'd just been through, but there was no idea of that in the synopsis whatsoever. So yeah, maybe I should have read a few more reviews about certain books, but on the whole, reading has just become my new pastime. So because YouTube became my full-time job, started as a hobby, ended up making an income from it, I never learned how to balance that with life. So what I would do was I would have all my notifications turned on, so every time a comment came through it would ping up on my phone. And then I would answer it, or I would read it, or you'd see it. The same with Instagram. I found myself, the minute I got up in the morning, checking my Instagram, replying to comments, checking my YouTube, replying to comments, and that went on all throughout the day, and I never had a break from it. Then I started to post stories on Instagram, and I just felt such a pressure to keep up and to keep answering the private messages and to keep answering the comments. And I love talking to people, I absolutely love what I do, but it just got so much, and I found myself doing things for Instagram or for YouTube rather than thinking, oh, this is such a nice thing to be doing, like go to the beach with the dogs. I would be like, oh good, go to the beach with the dogs so we can take pictures for Instagram, not for us. I mean, obviously they are for us, but I know a lot of you will know what I mean. And I'm bringing this up because I think if you are finding that social media is becoming too much, then take a break from it. So for about 3 years I've been just overdoing it really, and not taking time off, not letting my mind rest. And it took something so huge in my life happening for me to think, for me to take a step back and realise that it wasn't healthy and I wasn't enjoying it and it was just draining me. So yeah, basically so that's why I wanted to start this video off in this way. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, for goodness sake, get to the point, I came for the books. But I just thought I'd sort of update why I've decided to go down this route. I'm still doing my food content, I'm not replacing any videos, but I enjoy reading and I love the idea of talking to you about books, so that is what I'm going to do. And I promise every video will not start as rambly as this, but eventually I'm hoping to get into like reading. So today is like a reading wrap up of what I've been reading. I'm hoping to start doing like to be read lists, so what I'm attempting to read for the next month. I'm also going to do some actual daily vlogs, like book vlogs. Like reading vlogs are actually a thing. I didn't even realise this, but yeah, they're really cool. Have a look at some reading vlogs. They're really cozy and really lovely aesthetic, and yeah, it's just very cathartic for me at the moment. It feels very helpful with my grieving and healing. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, because I think a lot of us are so caught up in social media and feeling like what you're seeing on there is perfect. Everybody portrays obviously the best side of themselves. You're not going to go on and put the absolute worst of you, but I think by doing some book content and things, it's like, it's just the fun side of me. It's just another section, like something else that I'm interested in, and it gives some people an insight into not just what I eat or what I shop or whatever but it's like a hobby as well. So I don't know if any of this is making any sense. Yeah, so I just thought I'd start off by explaining why I've decided to do this, and that my channel isn't going to change. The only thing I have changed, because I've got a new phone, I've turned off notifications. Well, I just didn't turn on notifications for either YouTube or for Instagram. So if anyone comments on my videos or anyone comments on my Instagram, I don't get those automatically pop up. They don't just ping onto my phone and then I have to deal with them, because they're not always pleasant either. You know, people can be horrible, and when someone is hurting so much, a small comment that normally you would brush off can be really, really bad and can set you into a really bad day. This candle is crackling in my ear and I keep thinking, what is that? It smells so good, by the way. This is the Coconut Crush candle that I got from Asda. If you do watch my food hauls, then you will have seen it, and it is as good as I thought it was going to be. So I did promise that this was going to be a video about books, and it is. So what I'm going to do is take you through what I've been reading lately, and there's some really different things in here. So the first book I read was called Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is a mystery thriller, and it's set in this really prestigious, like fancy apartment building in Manhattan, and it follows our main protagonist Jules, who is a bit down on her luck. She's lost her boyfriend and her job in like the space of a few weeks, so she takes a job as an apartment sitter in this building. She is paid a huge amount of money to basically move into one of these apartments, but there are only 3 rules. Rule number 1 is no visitors. Rule number 2 is no staying away from the apartment at night. You must come home every single night. And rule number 3 is no disturbing the other guests. So despite this, Jules decides to try and befriend some of the other guests. Some of them are apartment sitters themselves. So she makes friends with one girl in particular called Ingrid, and Ingrid soon hints that things at the Bartholomew are not all as they seem, and there are some dark secrets hidden. So when Ingrid goes missing and Jules finds out that other apartment sitters have either left or disappeared as well, she decides to do her own investigating and stick her nose in where it's not wanted. This was a very chilling book, I must admit. It was a really good suspense builder. If you like not knowing what's going to happen, I think I'm pretty good at guessing like plot twists and endings, but I did not see this coming. The ending of this was amazing. The twist was huge, and that it could have gone so many different ways, this book, and I just didn't see it coming at all. I was actually stunned, and that's really good in a book for me. So I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think the only reason it wasn't a 5 is because there were certain subplots that I didn't find particularly relevant to the story, and that's why I just wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5, but I definitely recommend it. If you like thrillers and you like mysteries, then Lock Every Door by Riley Sager is definitely one to pick up. So the next book I read was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. Now this is actually a YA book, which stands for young adult. It's been likened to a dark Harry Potter. It follows the story of Galadriel, which I think is such a cool name. I absolutely love that name. She goes to this school for gifted magical children called the Scholarman. Once you're in, there are only two ways out. One is through graduation and the other is if you die. So your best chance of survival in the Scholarmans is to join an enclave, which is basically a really powerful club of witches and wizards, and if you get in with them you have a much higher chance of making it through graduation. Galadriel, or Elle as she's called throughout the book, is a very feisty loner kind of character, and she doesn't want any of it. She's not interested in joining any of these enclaves. She has enough powerful magic herself that she could probably manage. The only problem is if she uses this, she's likely to wipe out every other pupil in the school. There's a character called Orion who is part of the New York enclave. He keeps turning up when he thinks Galadriel most needs saving, and she doesn't quite agree. So there's quite a little bit of a snarky kind of sarcastic relationship building between these two. But if you like magic and like young adult fantasy, then I really enjoyed it. So this book is the first in a series. I'm not sure how many books there are going to be, but I'm definitely going to read the next one. I would give this another 4 out of 5 stars. It's very slow to start and there is a lot of world building and scene setting, so if that's not your thing, then this probably isn't the kind of book for you. If you are willing to listen to all the descriptions and the sort of building of world, and you do like the magic school element, then I would definitely recommend this one as well. So my next book is my first 5-star, and that is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. And this book absolutely blew me away. So this book follows Emmanuel, who lives in poverty with her disgraced family on the outskirts of this village called Bethel. And her family's disgraced because she is actually of mixed race, and her mother went off with what they termed an outsider. She tries so hard to fit in and obey the rules of this puritanical society where the prophet's word is law, but she finds herself being called towards this like forbidden forest. She ends up giving in to the call, and she enters this forest only to meet 4 witches who give her a gift, which is actually her dead mother's journal. Alongside this gift, she is also bestowed the power to bring plague upon her society. And on the one hand, she thinks these people should suffer because it's a very oppressive society. Basically every woman ends up marrying the prophet, and if you don't follow the rules and do as you're told, then the women get punished. And so she thinks these people deserve it. They're not very nice people. They have class systems, they have race systems. And Emmanuel doesn't agree with any of that. But on the other hand, she knows that there's a lot of innocent people that just follow the prophet's word because there is no other option, and they would also be harmed. So the plagues come, and the story is basically about her trying her very best to stop them and to find out why the witches are doing what they're doing, why her mother was involved with them. And it just blew me away. It was an amazing read. The last 30 pages or so are so dark and creepy, and this is proper witchcraft. The witches in it aren't just hunched over old ladies gathering round a cauldron in the woods. They're proper deep, dark magic witches, and they're gross and scary and terrifying. Then the end of the book, like I said, the last 30 pages just was so shocking and so dark. It was one of those that I just couldn't put down. And if you want to get away and be taken away into a completely different world, then I really recommend this. Like I said, it's a 5-star from me. So the next book is probably my least favourite. I would say a 3-star from me, and that is the Culling Trials, which is the first part of the Shadow Spell Academy books, and that's by K.F. Breen and Shannon Mayer. I really wanted to like this because I hoped it would give me that like Deadly Education vibes. It's got that magic school trope. The synopsis mentioned the Hunger Games, and I absolutely love the Hunger Games, but I just couldn't get on board with it. So this follows the story of a farm girl called Wild, and when I say a farm girl, she's more like a farm superhero. She's very strong, very fit. She works every day on this farm, and she lives with her dad and her brother and sister. One day a letter turns up saying that her younger brother is to go off to these culling trials. So there's this magical school, and it takes in children that have magical abilities. It basically whittles them down by putting them through their paces at 5 different trials, and this book just covers the first trial. and Wilde decides that she is not going to let her younger brother go, she's going to take his place, but she cannot go as herself, so she has to pose as a boy. And we follow Wilde into the Culling Trials, and she meets a few different people, and she's very strong. Everyone wants to kind of follow her, thinking she's a him. I really wanted to like it, like I said, because it's just my kind of thing, and I thought it would be that nice sort of fantasy escape. It was a really short read, and I don't know if the books will get better, but it just seemed a little bit too unbelievable for me personally. I don't know if I would bother to read the rest of the books. I didn't really like the characters all that much. It seemed way too far-fetched. That's saying a lot considering it was a book centered around magic. I did realise there was going to be some sort of far-fetched content in there, but it just didn't gel with me. It was not my favourite, and I don't really have much interest to pick up the rest of the series, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I did finish it and kept my mind occupied, but it's not one that I would recommend. So my next book was another 5-star and one of my favourite books now of all time, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstein. So this book is about a circus that appears from the middle of nowhere in all different places and only opens at night. Everything inside it is all black and white, there's no colour, and it is full of the most magical acts and tents full of wonder. But behind the scenes of this circus there's actually a duel taking place by 2 magicians that have been trained expressly for this purpose since childhood, but unbeknownst to them only one of them can remain standing, and it's all about their journey and how each one of them creates more and more magic within this circus. It's so beautifully written, and the scene setting was amazing. You really did feel like you were there. I mean, I want to visit this circus. I really was so sad to realise every time I stopped reading the book that it wasn't a real place. There's also a love interest, and this game must be played out to the very end no matter what happens, because all the other members of the circus are actually unknowingly involved and they're being held together by this duel that's going on. So even though that these 2 characters start to fall for each other and have like these such strong magical feelings, they know that only one of them can survive. And it was just, like I said, it was the best book, I think, one of the best books I've ever read. I'm going to buy the hardback edition just to put on my shelf because it's so beautiful. If you like magic and fantasy and beautiful writing and lovely quotes, the quotes in the book alone were just so nice, and it was just one that just every time I opened it just took me somewhere different, and I really felt like I was there, and to do that within a book is very clever. So The Night Circus is a 5-star from me, and I don't want to go into any more detail without spoiling it, but you're just on the edge of your seat all the time, and I cannot wait to read her other book, which is The Starless Sea. 5 out of 5 for The Night Circus. Highly recommended that one. So this brings me on to my last book that I've been reading at the moment, and that is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Again, I liked the first one so much that when I saw his other book I decided to read that as well. He's actually written a few others and I definitely will be reading those. Home Before Dark is the book that maybe I shouldn't have picked up because it does deal with our main protagonist Maggie. Her father dies in the beginning and it's told from 2 points of view. Her father was a writer and he made his fortune by writing about the house that they lived in with his wife and Maggie as a child, and it was haunted. He wrote about what went on there over the 20 days that they lived there and turned it into a book. Her entire life right up to adulthood, Maggie has been haunted by this book. She became famous because of it and she absolutely hates it. They fled the house when she was 5 years old and they never went back, as far as she can tell. When Maggie's father dies, he leaves the house to Maggie and she decides that she has to go back and find out what happened all those years ago and why her family fled. Now this book terrified the life out of me. Honestly, if you want to be scared, it was so creepy and I don't know what I found more scary. So it's told from the point of view, 2 different points of view. So you've got excerpts from the book that Maggie's father wrote when she was young about this house called Bainbury Hall that they lived in. And then you've got Maggie's point of view who goes back there as an adult and revisits it. So you have like a chapter of each and it's what happened then, and then Maggie will read a bit of the book and explore that part of the house, and it's creepy. The house is so scary. It reminds me a little bit of like Amityville Horror, that kind of vibe. If you like that kind of thing, you would like this book. and there's all these different characters. Maggie's always believed that the whole book was made up just for money, and her father and her mother would never tell her anything about the book at all. They just wouldn't talk about it. All they would say was that it was true, it happened, and they wouldn't lie. And they told her that over and over again throughout her whole life. So when she starts to explore this house, things start to happen that make her think maybe her father wasn't making it up all along, and perhaps it really was haunted. And then there are some shocking twists, as I've become to learn. Riley Sager seems to be very good at his twists. The ending, again, I didn't see it coming. I actually had to read with my hand. I've got a habit of like speed reading down the page and spoiling it for myself, so I had to read it with my hand over like the bottom of the page, so I didn't flick my eyes down because I just didn't want to spoil it. It was such a good ending. It really wrapped everything up, but it was a book that made me feel so cold and creepy. I was actually sitting in the house on my own. The boys were at school and Steve was at work, and I was reading it, and I actually felt like I needed to put the book down because I needed someone in the house while I was reading it. That's how creepy I found this book. So another 5-star from me, definitely this one, and that is Riley Sager's Home Before Dark. So that is it for the books that I have been reading. What I do just want to quickly mention is an app, and I'm not being sponsored. I'm going to put my coffee down, I'm going to spill it. There is an app if you are in the UK, and I think this is in the US as well, but there is an app called Libby. If I open it, I can show you this app. I'll probably show you on the screen. So there's an app called Libby. If you have a UK library card, you can go onto this Libby, download the Libby app, you put in your library card details, and you can borrow books for free. Read them on your phone or read them on your iPad, or read them electronically, and they're all free. So you just search up a book like you would, like at the moment I'm reading another Naomi Novik book called Spinning Silver. So if I just click on the book, it will take me back to the position I'm in on the book, and you can just read it like that. You can place holds on books. Also has audio books. Like I said, this isn't sponsored at all. This is just like a free thing if you like reading, definitely. If you've got a library card, the Libby app, I will leave it linked down below. Like at the moment, the next book I want to read is this V.E. Schwab, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and yeah, it's so good. You click on library and you can just go to what's new in books, and then you just scroll down and it tells you all these books, and if you like the look of one, you can either borrow it, or if it's not available to borrow, you just click hold and you get the book for 3 weeks, then you can renew it. It automatically takes them away after 3 weeks. You don't have to remember to take them back. I think it's amazing, like for free books. So I was listening to Rules for Vanishing. I didn't finish it because there were police reports in it, and obviously the narrator has to read it exactly as it's written. So the police reports were like, say for example, it said, Sarah, I didn't do this. Tom, I think you did. Sarah, no I didn't. Tom, yes you. And that just the fact that they were reading out these police reports with the names and that, I think it's going to be a really, really good book, but I just couldn't stand it listening to it. So Rules for Vanishing is definitely one that I am going to be reading. It says Stranger Things meets the Blair Witch Project in this gripping ghost thriller. Once a year, a road appears in the woods at midnight, and the ghost of Lucy Gallows beckons, inviting those who are brave enough to play her game. But if you win, you escape with your life, but if you lose, it's almost a year since Becca went missing. So that sounds really good. I am listening to The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo at the moment, which I am absolutely loving. I just pop my earbuds in and walk to school, and on the way back I listen to that, and I'm really loving that, or when I'm just doing washing and things around the house. So that is it for this video. I've got no idea how long it is going to be. I really am sorry if it's hours long. I will try and keep it as short as possible. Please let me know in the comments if you have enjoyed this reading wrap up. I will get better as time goes on and I get used to the format. I'm so used to just cooking and explaining what I'm doing. This is different for me, but if you have enjoyed it, then let me know. Let me know what you think, if you've enjoyed like the chatty vibe of it and things, and if you'd like to see more. I just love to sit and chat, and it's been really nice to talk about books and something that I'm passionate about. I'm just trying to really focus on making myself happy and doing things that are good for my mind and that I enjoy doing. So I hope everyone is okay. Let me know what you're reading, or if you've read any of the books, if you agreed with me on the ratings or not, or if you're planning on reading them now. And don't forget to check out that Libby app. Like I said, not sponsored. They have no idea I'm even mentioning them. I just thought it's a really, really good idea if you have got a library card, because then you don't have to pay for the books, and it's just brilliant. So I'm gonna leave you there. Thank you so much for watching. Keep safe everyone, and I'll be back really soon with another video.